Hello and welcome to a Breakthrough Assault video production. I'm Lee Parnell, recording from somewhere in the south of England. And today we'll be taking a look at the T-72B in our unboxing video. The T-72B makes its debut in the new WWIII Warsaw Pack book, currently being introduced to Team Yankee. It's available to both Warsaw Pack players such as the Poles, Czechs and East Germans, as well as for the Soviets. For the Warsaw Pack players, it offers a considerable leap over the current T-72M tank currently available, whilst for the Soviet players it offers a middle ground tank between the T-64 and the T-80, but still a big jump over the much maligned T-72A of the Red Banner book. The T-72 box allows you to build all three variants currently in the game. This includes the A version used by the Soviets, the M version used by a variety of nations, as well as the new B version. Now Battlefront were kind enough to send me a couple boxes, so let's take a look inside one of them now. Let's open this box up, shall we? Take a look inside. Now I should note straight away, it's actually a much bigger box than, say, the T-72 6 boxes of previous, because it's got to fit so much stuff in, as you can see. Now, making sure we haven't left anything behind, you can see inside we get a nice little plastic box full of cards. I say 4 cards because actually it's only 4 inside. Now we get a force diagram for World War III Soviets, but interestingly the new T-72B formation is not present anywhere, just the A version there. The actual cards we get as well are only for the Soviets, including the A version. You can see here we've got the HQ and the core unit, and then the new B version HQ and core unit 2. The actual Warsaw Pack nations are not present. Now, plastic bag's always handy, so let's keep that for later. Of course, we get our obligatory commander sprue, the same one we've had since World War II, because Soviet players can't have anything nice. We then get the T-72 upper hull and turret sprue, which is unchanged from previous. We get some ball wrap, because that's always handy. We get the lower hull and track unit, again unchanged from the other kit, and the new upgrade sprue. This includes all the parts we need for the B version, as well as the new one-piece fuel tank. Looking at the upgrade sprue in more detail, I've placed 2 here so you can see both sides at the same time, which is quite nice because it's done from both sides. Looking in the top left hand corner, we can see the new bazooka skirts, which have the era blocks incorporated. These obviously were there to provide protection to the lower hull against a heat warhead strike to the side. Below that we can see the underside of the new upper glasses plate. There's a mouthful for you. You can see the V shape in there, and that locates onto sort of like the driver's water screen that basically keeps the water out during the fording from his hatch. So it makes it very easy to fit that component on. Below that we have the new turret upper. Again, festooned with era blocks, has an additional stowage bin compared to the A version, and also has a snorkel incorporated on the back of the central stowage bin, so no more having to faff around trying to stick that onto the side of the turret. As mentioned, there's 2 new drop tanks which basically are in one piece rather than being upper and lowers as previously. They're still attached to the back in the same way, which is was always a bit of a fiddly headache on the previous ones, but at least you have to glue them together and try and get a nice clean line. Now we can also see the new lower piece, which is used to attach both a row of era blocks right at the front of the lower glasses plate, but also the previously missing drop down sort of dozer blade used for digging tank scrapes. There's a new searchlight assembly, and that also then has a blocker era which goes above that when we build it up, as we'll see later. All 3 variants of the T-72 build together in the same way when it comes to lower hull. They don't deviate up until the point where you start sticking the side skirts on or the additional armour. In the top left hand corner we can see a hole which is yet to have its side skirts fitted, and that will work for both A and M versions if we put on the legacy rubber skirts. In the bottom right we can see a B version where we fitted the T-72B's side skirts and the upper glasses plate. Turning the holes over, we can see the additional plate fitted to the T-72B, which incorporates the era blocks and the scrape dozer blade. One of the problems with the A version was the missing detail on that lower plate for all the attachment points for the actual mine plows and the like, which the B version goes some way to incorporating. The biggest problem with it is it doesn't relocate on anything, so you just kind of put it on and get it roughly in place, so the actual top row era blocks look like they roughly align with the end or the very front of the actual glasses plates where they meet. Turning our gaze upon the turret, we can see here a T-72B turret in the green plastic, as well as a T-72A/M turret that, as you can tell from the grey plastic, I've had for a considerable amount of time because frankly I just suck. In terms of common parts, it reuses the same 125mm barrel, it reuses the turret base plate, and sadly it reuses the cupola, so the machine gun mount is still stuck out 90 degrees for some weird reason. I probably would have preferred a new cupola over new fuel tanks, but that's my preference. The B version turret benefits from having a lot more detail in terms of era block. The A turret has always been a little bland compared to some of the later Soviet tanks, missing details such as like little lines for the grenade launchers and the like. So there's been a big step up in terms of the actual level of detail in the B kit. Now, that's not a fair comparison. Obviously, it's got era blocks, but even so, it's still, I like it. Obviously, you can see here it's got the additional stowage bin already built on. And correcting slightly what I said earlier, they both have the snorkel incorporated. It wasn't a separate part. I'm thinking of the 64, I think. Putting this all together, and we end up with a very nice kit, in my opinion. It's a big step up from the T-72A and M kit, which basically suffered a little bit from being the first kit. It had a few little issues with like very thick joins to the sprue, which always made for ugly cuts and little blemishes on the surface. And it had a lack of detail compared to the later T-64 and T-80 kits. The new turret and additional features for the B kit really bring the T-72 back up to those levels. It makes it, again, it really sort of emphasises this is on par with those two big boys. The actual engineering of the kit is also very nice. Like I said, the upper plate benefits from having a V shape that aligns with the driver's sort of guard on the front plate. The new side plates have like a curved feature which lines up with the inside of the track guard. It makes for a much more robust join compared to the two little tabs of the rubber skirts on A&M. The only bit I would sort of draw a small issue with is the lower plate, if only because it doesn't have anything to locate on, but that's really a fault of the earlier kit. There's nothing on that lower plate for the new additional feature to align with, so you just got to kind of fit it and hope for the best, and generally it's quite easy to get a satisfactory look to it. We haven't really looked at the stats here. Obviously the stats you can find on our blog and the like. Its points to effectiveness is, I think, favourable. I think the extra survivability makes the cost of it worthwhile. I'm basically paying for 3 of these for every 4 T-72Ms you would have in the East German force. And the fact you can bounce any round it puts you that's not launched from an aircraft means I think that is a worthwhile investment. I seem to recall my T-72Ms are always dying rapidly to Milan fire and also 105mm fire. Having something that can actually bounce a 120mm around more often than not, I think is definitely something to look at. And with the missile capability you get as well, then you can obviously look at retrying the span drills and shoot down NATO helicopters, which is always quite fun. And certainly not embarrassing for them when you knock it out with something launched from a tube. So yeah, that's my opinion on the new T-72B kit. I'll be putting more of these together and get them painted, so follow me on the blog as you'll see those going together. I am planning to do some of my East Germans, and I'm going to do the nifty 3-tone camo because it's sort of the late fall of East Germany looks, I think, will work quite well with a late 80s tank. As always, like and subscribe, and also follow us at our Patreon, which will have a link below, as they say, on the interwebs. So thanks very much. I'm Lee Parnell, signing off, and hopefully see you soon.